If you're feeling stuck or want to get back into art after a break, art journaling is great. But first, you have to get past the blank page and feel inspired. For me, the blank page is the biggest creativity killer. I know there's lots of techniques to break the blank page, but I say, why even start with blank pages? I think it's so much easier to get started if there's already something on the page. So that's why I turn my pile of paper scraps into these fun art journals. There are no blank pages, no fear of messing up a nice sketchbook. I'm using these to practice mark making, doodling, and drawing patterns. In this video, I'll show you how to make these quick, easy art journals you'll actually use. If you want to get off your phone but keep your hands busy and develop an art habit, you have to try this. If you don't have colorful collage papers laying around, don't worry, you can still make a scrappy art journal. One of the 2 art journals I'm making today will be all neutral papers. I'll share which papers I'm using in the tutorial. Today I'm making 2 new art journals for my upcoming 100-day project that I'm starting on Tuesday. I will be doing 100 days of mark making in these art journals. Mark making is one of my favorite art practices. It ignites my creativity unlike anything else. Mark making is an easy way to transform these random papers into something I might want to use in other projects. Mark making is also a fun way to play with new art supplies and test them out on different papers. I'm trying some new mark making techniques in these art journals, but I'm also using the 16 exercises from my ebook, the Mark Making Starter Kit, to come up with endless ideas. I'll put a link below if you want to check it out. Keep watching. You'll be amazed at how a little mark making can transform even the ugliest collage papers. Before you throw any paper scraps away, watch this. I make a lot of handmade books to practice my mark making. It's become a bit of a theme on this channel. I'll put a link below to a playlist where you can see my other handmade book projects. When I make my own art books, I'm excited to fill them up because either they're purpose-made to explore a certain idea, like mark making with watercolor, or they're made from pre-painted papers that give me a jumping off point, like today's project. When I work in handmade art books, I feel inspired and I feel like I'm growing as an artist. I got the idea for these scrap pad art journals when I was working on my holiday junk journal and got frustrated because I didn't have any pretty papers. So I dug out all my failed gel prints and collage papers, and then I thought I should make my own patterned paper stash. So I made these 3 art journals and started doodling in them. They're filled with gel prints, painted papers, inky experiments, vintage book pages, and other random collage papers. The variety is so much fun. My idea was to transform my paper scraps into something usable. These are art journals, but they're also supply journals. I can easily tear pages out to use in other projects. And these are super easy to make. There's no folding or sewing. But before we get to the tutorial, let me finish flipping through the art journals I've already started and show you why they're so awesome and you have to make your own. I don't ever feel stuck with these art journals. I can just flip through until I find a page that sparks an idea. I find it so much easier to get started when there's already something on the page. What's on the page might inspire the marks I make on top, or it might just end up being a backdrop. These journals are totally low pressure. I'm not worried about messing up the pages. It's only paper. You're free to experiment. There's no pressure on any page to be a masterpiece. You don't have to worry about what you'll use the pages for later. Sometimes we get so caught up in the end purpose that we forget the whole point, which is how we feel when we're creating, when we're unlimited, when we don't have an end purpose in mind. You'll make pages that you love, pages that need a little bit more work, and pages that you hate, which you can just tear out. With this style binding, you can easily remove a page if you don't like it. No one will ever know it was there. Or you can remove pages because you love them and you want to use them for journaling, collaging, or card making. I think these are going to be really fun to use as tear sheets for collage. Plus, this is a really neat way to organize and store your paper scraps. I mixed in a few neutral papers like grid paper or old book pages, but there are no blank white pages. I actually color coordinated my papers. I made 2 journals with blue and green pages and 1 with pink and orange pages. I like having multiple scrap pads on the go, so there's even more pages to choose from. I decided to limit my mark making tools to black pens, white and gold gel pens, and acrylic markers that go with the color theme of the art journal. Using a limited set of colors throughout helps unify the random pages. You can learn how your art supplies work on different papers and layered with other media. This is the best way to test out new art supplies without ruining a piece of art. Each page you transform gives you a sense of accomplishment, and your finished scrap pads will be a curated collection of original papers you love. Keep them as inspiration, or you can use them in your art right away. I love these so much, but there's a few things I want to do differently for my next batch of journals. All of the journals you just saw have flip-up pages, which looks fun and scrappy, but it's not the most practical. With the flip-up pages, I feel like I need to use them on a table or desk. Otherwise, the pages are flopping everywhere. I also like to rotate my journals a lot when I'm doing mark making, and it's tricky with flip-up pages. Today I made these new art journals open like a book, and they are so much more compact and easier to use in portrait or landscape mode. I also want to use uniform page sizes in my new art journals. The different size pages look fun, but they make an uneven surface to draw on. I think one consistent page size will be much better. When the pages are random sizes like this, it's harder to line them up for binding, and there's gaps where the glue can seep in between the pages. I already tried out 2 different size journals. These are 6 by 8 inches, and this one is 4 by 8 inches. They're both a great size, but I prefer the 4 by 8 inch size, so that's what I'll be making today. When I made these 3, I didn't put covers on them at first, so the front pages kept getting bent. I went back and added covers to protect the pages. I'll show you a quick way to add covers at the end of the tutorial. Are you ready to make your scrappy art journal? Let me show you how easy it is. The supplies you need to make these are binder clips, any style you have, an X-Acto knife or a utility knife, and a cutting mat. You also need PVA glue. I'm using this pH neutral PVA glue that's for bookbinding and paper projects. You can use any PVA glue that stays flexible when dry. You can even use Elmer's glue if that's all you have. If you have clamps to press the pages together, grab those too. If you don't have clamps, I'll show you another option using a heavy book and a weight to press the pages. You also need backing board. I save my empty watercolor paper pads for this. Any sturdy piece of cardboard will work. And of course, you need papers. You can use any papers to make these: gel prints, painted paper, scrapbook paper, even digital printouts. I like to choose paper colors that go well together, like these blues and greens. For my neutral art journal, I'm using black drawing paper, a few neutral gel prints, vintage book pages, music paper, vellum, and a variety of grid papers. The only thing I'm not using is plain white paper. You can make your art journal any size you want. The size of your paper scraps might determine the size of the art journal you can make. I loved the first 4 by 8 inch size journal I made, so I'm gonna make more of those today. I'm gonna make 2 journals with 50 pages each to support my 100-day project. I only use the front side of the pages, so I need 50 pieces of paper for each journal. 50 pages is a nice size. It makes a decent sized spine and gives you plenty of pages for inspiration. Step 1 is to cut all your papers to the same size. Add an extra 1/8 of an inch to the width of your pages. I want my finished journal to be 4 by 8 inches, so I cut my pages to 4 1/8 inches wide by 8 inches tall. You'll see why you need that extra 1/8 of an inch in a moment. Next, cut your backing board to size. I save the covers and backing boards from my watercolor pads just for projects like this. Cut your board to the exact finished size you want for your journal. I cut mine 4 inches wide and 8 inches tall. Then I sorted all my papers and put them in the order I want them in the journal. For my neutral papers, I sorted them first by paper type and color. Then I collated them, mixing up the paper types as I went. I didn't want any similar papers next to each other. For my collage papers, I added in a few neutral papers to get to my 50-page count. Then I stacked the collage papers in an order I liked, occasionally inserting the neutral papers. Make sure all the papers are facing the right way. Once your papers are in order, you're ready to trim your pages to their final size. Start by stacking your papers on top of the backing board. I will be gluing mine on the left side, so I'm going to pick up the stack of papers with the backing board and tap them on the opposite side on my table, so they're all flush on the right side. Use binder clips to clip the papers to the backing board. Then flip the stack over so the backing board is on top. You'll see the papers are 1/8 of an inch wider than the backing board. Use an X-Acto knife or utility knife with a fresh blade to trim off the papers. Use the backing board as a guide to run the knife along. Be patient and make many light passes with the blade until all the papers are trimmed. Doing it this way gives you a nice, smooth edge to glue all the pages together. Now it's time to glue the spine. First, you have to apply even weight on top of the journal to press the pages together. Otherwise, the pages are too loose and the glue will get between the pages. If you have a book press, you can use that. If not, you can pull your journal to the edge of the table so it overhangs about 1/2 an inch. Carefully unclip the pages while holding them in place with your hand. Move one of those clips to the front edge of the journal to temporarily hold everything in place. Place a large, heavy book on top, then add more weight until the pages press together. I used a 10-pound hand weight here. See how compact it makes the pages? You can also use clamps. I grabbed these from our toolbox. Keep the large book on top of the journal and clamp everything to the table. The journal pages will be pressed together. If you only have one set of clamps like me, but want to make multiple journals, you can glue them up at the same time. Just carefully align the other journal on top of the first one. Put the book on top and clamp them all together. I'll show you how to separate them later. Use a brush to apply the PVA glue along the spine. For the first coat, I like to go up and down perpendicular to the spine, making sure the entire spine is covered. Then I add a second coat of glue on top, going parallel to the spine. Be careful not to get glue on the top page of your journal. Keep the journals in the clamps until the glue is completely dry. PVA glue should dry to the touch within an hour. It goes clear when it's dry. When the glue is dry, you can remove the clamps and book. To separate your 2 journals, find the middle where the backing board for the top journal is. Open the 2 journals flat and use your knife to gently cut the glue holding them together. They should slice right apart. Now you have 2 journals. For the cover, I'm using the covers of my empty watercolor pads. You could repurpose the cover from a notebook or use a piece of cardstock. You can always decorate the cover later. I like the watercolor pad covers because they already have a folded spine. But if you don't have folds in place already, I'll show you how to make them in a moment. I peel the cover off the backing and I can use this as is to cover my journal. I cut it to fit the width and height of my journal. I wrap the cover around my journal and make sure the spine is square. I clip the front cover in place, then flip the journal over. Open the back flap. You want to apply glue on the back piece only. Don't add any glue along the spine between the folds. I'm using Fabrifix, but you can use any glue for this. Just put glue on the back piece and then wrap it around and press it down. When you open the cover, you'll see it's not attached to the spine of the pages, which means you can flip the cover all the way open and out of the way. That also means your journal can lay flat no matter what page it's open to. The glued spine is completely flexible. For my second cover, I'm going to use a scrap piece that doesn't have any folds yet. I trimmed the piece to the height of my journal, but I left it 1.25 inches or 1.5 inches wider than my journal to wrap around the spine and attach to the back. Clip the cover in place to the front of your journal. Then flip it over and use a bone folder or stylus to score the cover right next to the glued spine. Fold the cover up against the spine. Then put the cover back down and fold it again so the journal pages are standing up. Make another score line on the cover right next to the backing board. Fold the back cover flap up against the backing board. Unclip the cover and take it off the journal so you can crease the 2 folds that you just made. Use a bone folder to press the folds. Now your cover has a spine. Clip the cover back on the journal, flip it over, and apply glue on the back flap only, and wrap it around and press it in place. These journals are ready to go. I put my journals with my favorite gel pens and acrylic markers in a to-go bag so I can move them around the house or take them with me anywhere to practice my doodling and mark making. Watch my How to Start Mark Making video next to see how I come up with ideas to decorate these pages.